the way Buddha taught this basic principle, he says, the cure for suffering, he says, is the extirpation, which means the complete uprooting of material desire, the extirpation of desire. One has to become free from desire. We don't say desire, we say material desire. So this is our difficulty. As I said, how do we get into this situation? One is this idea of ignorance, that I'm in this situation as avidya. The Mayavadis, they simply speak of avidya. But if it's a turning away from Krishna, then it's sin. It's a breach of a relationship, a broken relationship. Prabhupada says, the first sinful will of the living entity is to become the Lord. And the consequent will of the Lord is that the living entity forget his factual life and thus dream of the land of utopia, where he may become one like the Lord. So this is Prabhupada's expression, the first sinful will of the living entity is to become the Lord. So at least, and again Prabhupada talks about desire and hate. Icha dvesha samutena dvanda mohena bharataha. The living entity comes the material world, covered by this duality of desire and hate. And the desire, let me become God. And then what's the corresponding hate? And why should Krishna be God? What did he do? So we have to see that because we're here in the material world, in the material body, deep inside of us somewhere, at least speaking for myself, I've discovered this. Deep inside somewhere, I have set out to be Krishna's competitor. And this desire and hate is there. So we have now have to deal with this issue. For ourselves, Bhakti Yoga is especially potent because if you're following a Mayavada process or Buddhist kind of process and you're serious about it, most people aren't really serious anymore, but if you're serious, then you engage in severe austerities in order to destroy desire. It's really very, very, very difficult. And we do that also. We must do some of that. But the other thing is we go to the false ego. And we understand that the false ego is there ultimately because of a turning away from Krishna. Krishna, apitasya. We've turned away from Krishna. And so now, by turning again toward Krishna, now we are treating the root of the problem. So we've gone and we're sort of working at it from the top down as well as from the bottom up. With the senses, with the matter, and also with the trying to turn away to Krishna, turn back to Krishna. Now, we notice that we have got a difficulty when we do that. I decided at some point in my life I was going to become a devotee of Krishna. I made that decision. Unfortunately, my mind did not. It didn't seem like a straightforward thing that I wanted to become Krishna's devotee, but instead I found myself a kind of divided person. And so that, especially in the beginning stages of Krishna consciousness, it can be very uncomfortable. this divided self. It looks like a divided self. In the American philosopher William James, he wrote a book called The Varieties of Religious Experience, and a kind of psychological analysis of different religion, things that religions go through, and he had several chapters on the divided self. And so let us say I have decided to turn back to Krishna. But meanwhile, I have this mind. And my mind, my personality, all that, my subtle body, has been formed with the opposite idea in mind. And it wants to persist in the same course. Even though I have made the decision to turn to Krishna, I am now coupled with this interior brother living in the same body who has not agreed with me. And so therefore our process is a battle or war with the mind. Now it is uncomfortable, and sometimes it can look to people to be somewhat unhealthy. After I became a devotee, I would meet my friends, old friends, on the street, and they would sit and talk to me, and they would say, you know, this is not good for you. You used to be really together. And now I can see, you're full of anxiety, you're tense, and you're not together anymore. And I realized they were right, because I was together, because I was one with my mind and interested in sense gratification, and I flowed with it. There was no inner conflict, at least apparent. And then when I became a devotee, I found myself in the middle of a battleground of my own mind. And I just wanted to tell you, it's good. It's not unhealthy. It's the process of becoming. It's the process of becoming Krishna conscious. And in the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna has described this situation. Bhagavad-gita, beginning in chapter 5, and this is chapter 6, actually, where yoga is described. And the 5th text, he says, one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well.